All right, guys, let's take a more in-depth look at what Task 2 is like. So first, before we begin, I want you to recall the time range for Part 2, okay? Total, you'll have about 3 to 4 minutes for this part. But in the beginning, you are going to spend 1 minute planning, okay? And after that, you're going to have to speak for a minimum of 1 minute or a maximum of 2 minutes. Now, one tip that I can give you about this idea is to try to speak for the entire span of 2 minutes, okay? If you go over that time, the examiner will stop you. But try to say as much as you can, okay? By using as much time as you can to speak, you can maximize your chance of being highly rated in your ability to present a topic in English. So what does that mean, okay? Let's say if I talk to you for 5 seconds in Vietnamese, do you have a good idea of how much Vietnamese I really know? 5 seconds. How much time is that? Chào bạn, bạn thế nào? Bạn khỏe không? Còn bạn? Còn tôi, yeah, tôi vẫn khỏe. Cảm ơn nhé. It's not much, right? 5 seconds, you can't tell a lot about somebody's ability in a language. However, now, think about 2 minutes. Nếu Brand nói tiếng Việt 2 phút, chắc là các bạn sẽ biết nhiều hơn về kỹ năng tiếng Việt của Brand, đúng không? Right? If I speak very long, then you know more about my ability. So now think about the examiner. If you are speaking only for 1 minute, they're going to know less about your ability in English than if you speak for 2 minutes. Okay, so here's a little tip. Try to speak as much as you can. Use the amount of time that you have to demonstrate that you can communicate your ideas in English easily and also, in an advanced way. You don't, you're trying to use this time to demonstrate your vocabulary. So going back, your grammatical range, your accuracy, your pronunciation, also all 4 of these, okay? So if you only have 1 minute, maybe one of these areas the examiner isn't going to know about. So you want to use this time as much as you can, okay? All right, so right now, okay, so keep that idea in the back of your head, okay? And right now, let's look at a timetable, okay? Let's look at the timing. What is it actually going to be like, okay? So, in the beginning, you're going to sit down, and for this part, for part 2, they're going to say something like this. I'm going to give a topic to talk about for 2 minutes. Before you talk, you will have 1 minute to think about what you want to say. You can make notes to help you if you wish. Do you understand? And, so this should take about 10 seconds. So after that, you as the student or the IELTS candidate, you will say something like, yes, I understand, thank you. Or, no, I don't understand. Okay, but you probably don't want to say this, okay? So just yes, I understand. Even if you, oh my God, what did they say? Just, yes. Sometimes I do this in Vietnamese. This is a terrible, terrible thing to do. But sometimes when I'm speaking Vietnamese all day and I'm really tired, people are talking to me and I just go, dạ vâng ạ, vâng. But in my head I'm thinking, hiểu chạy liền. Vâng. Okay? But don't do this. Don't do this for IELTS. Okay? Do as I say, not as I do. Okay? Sometimes I'm not the best example of, using language. Okay? When I'm speaking Vietnamese, sometimes, I get lazy or I get tired or I just can't think anymore. So I just, yeah, vâng, đúng rồi, vâng, chuẩn rồi. But really, I have no idea. Okay? But in this situation, just, reply, yes, I understand. Okay? So moving on, around 15 seconds now, the examiner is going to give you a little sheet of paper so that you can make some notes. And also, along with that, they're going to give you the little card with your topic on it. And they'll say, I would like you to talk about blah, 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 blah. Okay, so whatever your topic is, okay, I want you to talk about dancing, or I want you to talk about the internet, or anything, okay? So after that, silence for 1 minute. You'll have 1 minute, okay? So look at that topic. Really, okay, so we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the next section, but look at the keywords. Think about what you want to say. Don't try to write everything you want to say. Make bullet points. In case you get stuck, in case you lose your train of thought, you can look at the card and go, ah, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So don't underestimate the power of making a few notes before you begin speaking. It can make you more relaxed since you have a crutch, okay? Something that you can rely on if you get stuck. It's going to help you with your organization. And if you don't have to worry about forgetting what you want to say because it's in front of you, then you can simply focus more on what you're actually saying. You can speak with feeling. You can focus more on using wide grammatical structures. You can focus on your vocabulary. Okay, so really use this 1 minute. Okay? So after you have taken good notes, or I hope at least, the examiner will go, okay, so time's up. You will have 1 to 2 minutes for your talk, so don't worry if I stop, okay, or if I stop you, okay, if she says, okay, stop. So don't worry about that. Okay, so once the examiner says this, you're going to have to start talking right away about your topic, your prompt. You're going to have to respond to the prompt, okay? So now is your time to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, so you're going to say something, blah, 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 give me a 9.0, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is where you're going to respond to your prompt. Don't say this. Hopefully that's obvious. Don't say blah, 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 give me a 9, blah, blah, blah. They're going to give you a 0 and tell you to get the hell out of there. Okay, so that's what they're going to say to you. Don't say this. Okay, take it seriously. Okay, so after those 2 minutes are up, you're going to say something like, oh, thank you. That was a wonderful reply. The 2 minutes are up. Okay, so then at this time, they're going to give you a short follow-up question, okay, on whatever subject you were just talking about. It's very quick, okay? So after that, as a candidate, blah, 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 am I done yet? But again, don't say this. Answer their question. Don't just, I'm tired of this already. This is boring. I want to go home, okay? So you will answer their follow-up question, or maybe 1 or 2 questions. And then after that, you are done with part 2. And the examiner will say, thank you. Can I have the topic card back, please? And you go, yes, of course, here you go. And then, too polite. Thank you again. Thank you. Can I have the topic card back, please? Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, madam. It is a marvelous day today. So unnatural, but they're trying to be so professional. They don't want to act like actual people. They're just kind of like robotic, polite people. Yes, please, thank you, that would be excellent, okay? But that's the nature of, dealing with this kind of a situation. You can't be very friendly with the examiner. That's not morally correct, okay? So they're polite, and that's how it is. Okay, so that is what the general structure in terms of time will look like for this part of the test. So about 3 to 4 minutes. You can see here we ended at 3 minutes and about 45 seconds, assuming that you used all of this time, these 2 minutes, to answer the question. Okay? So now that we have an idea of the timing, let's talk about how to approach this question. So we'll look at an example question and try to examine the structure and the approach to coming up with that kind of a response. All right, so hang in there. We're almost done. One more part. I know I'm not, doing anything very entertaining up here. I'm not dancing or singing. I'm sorry. This is IELTS. It's very serious stuff. Very serious indeed. So, you gotta get your head in the books, you gotta stay focused, you gotta be, siu chamchi, okay? So hang in there, guys. Are you ready to take a look at an example for task 2? No? What do you mean you're not ready? We've been talking about all this other stuff so far. Don't you actually want to see what the IELTS test looks like? Let's just do it anyways, even if you're not ready. The best time is the present, so let's jump right in, okay? So what we're going to look at here is our approach, how to answer this question in task 2. So the first thing that you should do once you receive your card, okay, so right here I have a nice big yellow block here. It's supposed to imitate what your little topic card will look like. So the examiner will take this and give it to you, and you look at it. So the first thing that you should do, the first step, identify the key words in this prompt, okay? Here and here, everywhere. Okay, identify the key words. Okay, so here is our example prompt for today. Describe a place that you enjoyed visiting recently. Okay. In your talk, mention the following: where the place is, why you visited that place, and what you liked about it. Okay, so where are our keywords in this prompt? Okay. Well, this is important. We're talking about a location, a place. And it can't just be any place. It has to be a place that you enjoyed visiting. So for example, if maybe you went to your grandma's house and it was boring and you have nothing good to say about it, you don't want to talk about that place, okay? Don't talk about your grandma's house if it wasn't fun, okay? Talk about something that you enjoyed. If you enjoyed something, it's going to be a lot easier to talk about it, okay? So, place, somewhere you visited, okay? And this is normal, nothing important here really in your talk. Mention the following. However, here is what you really need to focus on. These 3 points, okay? So, where, okay? You want to answer this question, where? You also want to answer the question, why, okay? And also, these 2 words kind of together, what you liked, okay? What you enjoyed, okay? What? Answer the question, what? What about that place was awesome, was cool? Why did you enjoy it, okay? So, those are our key words. So, on your note card, maybe mention, maybe write something like place, dash, okay? And then think of what you want to talk about. What place are you going to talk about? Okay, and this goes along with that, okay? So when you're choosing your place, think about this idea. Next, where? Okay, so describe, and try to use as much detail as you can. So if it's in another country, talk about where in that country. Is it the capital city? Is it near the ocean? Is it like a beach? Is it the desert? Where is it? Okay, so answer that question, where, and provide as much detail as you can think about, okay? And write the details next to this idea in your note card. So write as many details that you want to talk about as you can think of in that 1 minute, okay? Next, give the reasons. This is probably a little bit more easy to talk about when you're just talking about why you did something. Of course, you're going to remember why you went somewhere. So for example, why did you go? Well, my friends have been planning a trip for a really long time, and eventually we all had enough money to go travel. So we decided to choose this location because the beaches are very beautiful. There's a lot of awesome, beautiful women walking around. So we went there, blah, 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 like that, okay? So try not to just say, my friends invited me. Try to just speak naturally, okay? But in order to speak naturally, it takes practice, okay? So just keep exposing yourself to language, okay? And 3, what you liked, okay? So you can kind of combine these 2 ideas. Why you visited it? Well, because you liked it. It had something that you enjoyed. So let's say you went to a beach and you say, wow, the water here was just so clean. It was crystal clear. The beaches, there was no litter, no garbage. It wasn't too crowded. The weather was beautiful. And we just had a really relaxing time. We were able to, sit down in reclining chairs and drink mojitos and watch the sunset. It was awesome. Okay, so what you liked about that place. All right. Now, when you split it up like this and you write note cards, it's going to help the whole process of talking for 1 to 2 minutes a little bit easier. So make sure that you find these keywords, okay? Find these keywords and use them to make notes to guide your speech when you're actually giving your response to the examiner. All right? So next, after you have picked out the keywords from the prompt, what you want to do is make a plan to discuss each of those keywords, those key points of the prompt, okay? So from our previous card here, I took these 3 ideas, and now I split them up, okay? And this I'm using as a model response, okay? I did not write this. I've never been to this location, but the idea was good, so I'm using this as a model response. Okay. So first, where the place is. Okay. So we answered this question. You don't have to write in complete sentences. Write phrases to remind you of what you're going to say. And actually, if you write entire sentences, it's going to be bad. You're going to be trying to talk with the examiner and reading an entire sentence. It's not going to work, okay? You're going to want to be able to look your examiner in the eye, and if you forget, maybe look around, look down, look at one of these keywords and go, yeah, I wanted to talk about this, okay? So, our place is called White Beach on Mindoro Island in Central Philippines. And for our writer, they chose to talk about how far away it is from their home. So it's about a 2.5-hour bus and boat ride. So they went on a bus and then they went on a boat ride to get to this island. And it took about 2.5 hours. So that's a good amount of information just to begin with. So maybe when you're speaking, you can, as you're speaking, you might have other ideas. So you can add to that as you're speaking to give your description a little bit more detail. However, just for a starting point for your notes, this is a solid amount of information. This will help you get started. If you get stuck, you can rely on this and have something else to add to the conversation, okay? Next, you want to talk about that question of why. Why did you like this place? Why was it fun for you? Okay, so one reason here, our writer said that it's in a beautiful natural setting. They're on a beach. It's nature. It's natural. It's beautiful. Okay, and this was also the first time that our person went to a white sandy beach. Okay, and also it was enjoyable because they were with friends. So when you go out with your friends and you travel, it's exciting. It's fun. Okay, so these are 3 good reasons. Maybe our writer will expand upon them when they're speaking. But for right now, this is a good starting point, right? Okay, so lastly, what did you like about the place? Well, it's kind of the same idea as this, but you can add more specificity to be more specific. Okay, it's stunningly beautiful. These beaches were very clean. There's a lot of natural landscape and beauty. Maybe there were like mountains in the background and the beach, and there were just beautiful girls, and they were running around in slow motion, and they were, flipping their hair back, and their hair was wet, and they were like, oh yeah, the beach. Okay, so maybe something like that. Okay, it's okay to have a little bit of a sense of humor when you're talking with the examiner. They're not a god, they're not a king, they're just a person. So you could say something like, oh, it was great. I loved going to the beach, and there were a lot of beautiful girls, and me and my friends were trying to talk to these girls, and blah, 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 something like that. But just, don't be too inappropriate, okay? Don't talk about their physique or something like, oh yeah, that girl had a really big, okay? Don't say anything like that, okay? So just try to keep it PG-13, but it's okay to be a little bit funny, a little bit animated. Show your personality. Be yourself, okay? But anyways, the idea here is that they made a couple notes about what they want to say to answer this question. Okay? So that's about it. So now that we have those ideas, let's turn it into a model answer. Okay? So let's try to take a look at what an appropriate response for this type of question would be. So before I do this, let's go back and let's look at this one more time. Okay? Describe a place that you enjoyed visiting recently. In your talk, mention the following. So these 3 questions, we want to make sure that we answer them. So a good way to split up our speech is by each of these questions. And then at the end, we'll wrap it all together and conclude our little speech. All right. So first, we're going to answer the first question here, answering where the place is. Okay? So in the beginning here, we're just kind of introducing what we're talking about. A place which I visited last summer. Okay? I'd like to talk about a place which I visited last summer. This place is called White Beach. It's on Mindoro Island in the center of my country. Mindoro Island is actually so large that it's made up of 2 provinces. To get there, we had to go on a 2.5-hour bus and boat ride from my home city, which is in the center of Luzon Island. Okay? So here, we're answering where it is. We're not just simply saying, White Beach. I went to White Beach, and that's it. It's not enough. How are you going to fill up 2 minutes if they say where the place was? Well, last summer, I went to White Beach, and that's it. What is that, 3 seconds? You have to give more detail about this location. So let's look at all the things that they talked about. First, they gave us the name, of course. Then they gave us a broader region of where this is located, Mindoro Island. Okay, and then even more, where is Mindoro Island? Well, it's in the center of my country. Okay, and they say my country because the examiner already knows that this person is from the Philippines. Okay, but you could also say in the center of the Philippines. Okay, either way. But the idea here is that they're trying to give as much information as they can. And this is a good strategy for eating up, okay, or kind of killing time. You want to eat up those 2 minutes, okay? So say as much as you can. Answer with as much detail as you can, okay? And now they even gave a little bit more information about this island. It's so large that it's made up of 2 provinces, okay? So maybe when you're talking about this location, you can try to add a little interesting fact about this location. Okay. So also talk about how you got there. That's another way that you can add more information and kill some time. Okay. So talk about how you get there, how long it took, and also they related the distance from their home city. So this is a solid amount of information answering this question, where this place is. After hearing this, I have a pretty good idea of where this person went and how they got there. So that's our goal, right? That's our task, is to answer this question. And here, hopefully you can see the kinds of ideas, the line of thinking that you want to follow when you are trying to answer a question like this in more detail. Okay? So, next. Okay, I know it's a lot. Hang in there. Why? Why you visited the place. Okay, and let me step out of the way a little bit here. Okay, so why? This is why you can answer this question in a lot of different ways. So if you see the question why in one of your prompts, try to really focus on this because this is probably the easiest question to answer. You could think of a million reasons why you did something. Okay? So they started out by saying that they went with some friends. Okay? I went to Mindoro with friends from home. We wanted to go somewhere interesting that we had never been before, where we could enjoy both the sun and the sea. We did an extensive search on the internet and found out that White Beach in Mindoro offered these things. Before I went to White Beach with my friends, I had never been to Mindoro, and I had not met anyone else who had been to the island either. However, the island is being heavily promoted now as a holiday destination for Filipino people, so my friends and I were aware of it. However, we had always assumed that it would be too expensive for us to visit and stay there. So when we went to our local travel agent and found out that it was within our holiday budget, we were both amazed and really happy. We booked for a week and stayed in a hotel with a good view of the large sandy beach. Chantua? Even I'm bored, I know. It's a lot of writing to read at one time. But if you try to model the ideas that this person touched upon, you can get an idea of what a good piece of speaking is like. The amount of description, they kind of paint a picture in the listener's head. Okay? So let's say that you are responding to this prompt on your own. Okay? And so for right now, think about what you would write for this topic. And try to think about the reasons why you visited a certain place that you visited. Okay? So let's say that you went to Nha Trang. Okay? What would you say about why? Well, maybe you could take this kind of an idea. I went to Nha Trang with friends from home. Okay? Then what could you say? You wanted to go somewhere interesting that you'd never been to before. Well, that's pretty normal. Maybe you never went to Nha Trang and you heard a lot about the beautiful beaches, so you decided to go there. Even though this piece of writing here, or this text, this transcription of this student's speech is about their specific life, you could probably take a lot of these ideas and apply it to your own idea. Okay, so try to really use this example prompt. Okay, try to record your own speech. Record your own answer to this prompt. Okay, so check for timing, listen for pronunciation, and also listen for the content. Okay, are you able to speak like this fluently, coherently? What about your grammar, your pronunciation? Okay, so think about these things. Don't just look at this and say, "Yeah, I understand." It's not going to help you. But if you look at this and try to imitate this style, it will help you, okay? So I know learning online for IELTS, it's not as easy as being in person with a teacher who can guide you at the moment, but it's not impossible. You just have to take the initiative. You have to be a little bit independent, okay? So you're not going to have somebody standing over your shoulder saying, "Do this exercise," okay? But right now, I'm telling you, do this exercise. Try to record your own response to this question and compare what you said with this text here. All right? All right, let's move on to the third question. What you liked about the place? Well, is it obvious? It's a beach, so it's beautiful. What else is there to say? Right? Well, you can't respond like that. You have to give some description. All right, so they're not necessarily saying, the first thing I liked was blah, blah, blah. They're just talking about their whole experience there, okay? So the first thing that this person noticed, when we arrived, it was really hot. So the first thing they noticed was it was really hot, okay? Mindoro is in the center of my country, so it's warm all year round. I think it was about 34 degrees on the day we landed at the airport. Wow, 34 degrees. That ain't that bad, right? We're in Vietnam. We know all about 40 degrees, right? 34 degrees. That's winter in Vietnam. Ha! Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay, so they landed at the airport, 34 degrees. Okay, so now what else? My friends and I, it were so hot, so after they checked into the hotel rooms, they changed into beach clothes and immediately went to the beach and went swimming. So now they're answering this question, what did they like? Okay, so they're kind of telling the background story. So they were amazed at just how hot the sand was at the beach, but the sea was amazing. Okay, they'd never seen such blue water. So because of that, really what they liked was the beach, because the weather was so hot, but when they went to the beach and the clean water, it was just, it was a great experience. It was beautiful. So that's how they're answering this question here. What did they like about the place? Well, they liked the beach. It was great. Okay. So finally, how are you going to conclude all of the information that you talked about? Well, maybe look at the trip more generally now, kind of from, take a step back and look at it in a more broad perspective. Okay. They spent a week at White Beach. When they returned, they brought some traditional handcrafts made by the local people. So even here, they're talking a little bit more about what they liked. That's okay. They're kind of concluding the whole idea of their trip. They're talking about what they brought back. They were there for a week. They returned. They have gifts. So they took those gifts and they gave them as souvenirs to their friends and family. And finally, they conclude by saying, White Beach was a place that I really loved visiting. Okay? So something like that. Now, if I went and I read all of this straight, as if I was really, giving this as my answer, this whole thing would be, a little bit less than 2 minutes, but it's using up a good amount of time. So you should try to aim when you're talking to say about as much as you have in this response to the prompt. Okay, so this is a good model of how you should try to respond to these kind of questions. The most important thing, though, that I can give to you right now is really use that 1 minute to try to prepare notes for yourself. If you're in the situation where you're taking the test, you're going to be nervous. Okay, it's just part of taking a test. You're going to be a little bit anxious, nervous, worried. Okay, but using the card and using notes is really going to help you it's going to help you eliminate some of that stress and some of that worry. It's going to help you get a better answer. You're going to be more organized. You're going to be able to speak more fluently and coherently because you know what you're going to say before you say it. So really try to remember that. Okay. So right now, what you can do, right now, just pause the video or after this video is done, take, since this all has to happen rather quickly, I think you can take 5 more minutes and try to answer this question on yourself. Try to answer this question by yourself, okay? Do it on your own. Focus on the ideas that we talked about in terms of preparing for this question, and then record your answer, listen back to it, check the time, try to find out what your weaknesses are. Maybe you know vocabulary, but you have difficulty speaking with fluency and coherence. Or maybe it's the opposite. You can just say a lot of words together, but sometimes you use the same vocabulary words. You don't know much about how to explain your ideas using more advanced vocabulary, using synonyms, things like that. So use this kind of an exercise to target your weaknesses. And then when you know what your weaknesses are, you can focus on that and improve so that you can turn your weaknesses into strengths. All right? I hope that this lesson was not tragically boring for you. I know looking at this stuff is not as fun as, doing something else, such as looking at pronunciation or, comparing English and Vietnamese. These things are more fun with language. However, studying for a test, it's not that fun because, it's important and you're worried about the results. However, hopefully you found some information in this lesson useful. Let me know if anything is confusing to you or you have questions about anything. Leave a comment in the video and let me know, and I will respond to you as soon as I can and do my best to help you. But that is it for today. Hopefully you have a better idea and understanding of what Task 2 is like, and you can start getting some practice with the ideas that I shared with you today. So that's it. I hope you guys have fun with English. Don't worry too much about your band score. Just try to learn English and to learn about culture and express yourself, and just, language is fun. So try not to stress yourself out too much. That's it. Have fun. Be safe. Don't get arrested. I will see you next time. Peace.